This process, Freud identified this process called individuation, which is where we separate from a family identity. And that's where the rebellion occurs, right? Because kids need to answer that question. And then what you also start to see is this need to belong, conformity. You see it all over middle schools and high schools, everywhere in the world. I need to be part of this group. I need to wear the right clothes. I need to make the cheerleading team or the football team or whatever. It's that need for belonging. There's two psychological insights that I think are probably the two most important that I've ever come across. And here's one of them. We try on different faces until we find a face of our own. But what drives that for a large middle period of life, middle school, high school, college, even it's called this extended adolescence, even into 20s and the 30s, is this idea of I'm trying to find myself. Right? And this used to be these, Go West, Young Man, and Jack Kerouac, the open road. This used to be a healthy process where you go, the process of self-discovery was the search, the travel, the moratorium. Yeah. There's this great line in the movie, A River Runs Through It, where one of the sons comes home from college and goes to his father, who's played by Tom Skerritt. It's like, so son, you've had 4 years at college. What do you want to do? It's like, oh, I don't know. It's like, but you've had 4 years to know. And that's what college is supposed to be. Yeah. College is, if you think about the university, the etymology of the university is the word universe. The university was first born to be a repository of everything in the known universe. So it was a place you could come, and there was civics, there was mathematics, there was theater, there was astronomy, there was language, and you can come to a place of learning, and the vehicle of that learning was critical thought and the pursuit of truth. And so this need for belonging is born out of evolution and natural selection, manifests most pronounced in adolescence, in middle school, and then in a healthy identity, you get to this place called an achieved identity, where you've tried on different faces, you've done a search, you've done exploration, you've tried different things, you've taken some risks, and then you finally come to this moment where it's like, I know who I am. I know the real me. That's not the real me. I won't participate in that. This is who I am. And then what happens is you can then, what Erik Erikson says is, when we talk about finding a partner to love in life, we call psychological intimacy. You have all these people trying to find a partner. What Erikson says is you can't give yourself to someone if you don't have self to give. Yeah. If you haven't developed a full sense of yourself, what are you giving to the person? Right. So that's what we talk about. Like, work on yourself, develop a healthy sense of self. Who am I? Like, solve for that, and then go forth, to your ultimate destiny in life. The second most important question. It's something I think about. Usually you have an idea. It's like a song, and you listen to it for a little while, and then, I don't like it. I'm on to a new song. This is a question that has never left me, because I see it every day in my work. It shows up all the time. And it's not even a question. It's an observation, a very keen observation by Sigmund Freud. We spend our adult lives undoing the debris of childhood. Mm. So just pause there for a minute and think about your life. When you ask somebody, why do you do what they do? On a surface level, they're going to give all these answers. It's like, because I love it. Oh, no. If you actually have deep conversations with them, what you come to realize is the fuel itself, the motivation, is rooted in experiences that they had in their youth. Lance Armstrong. Why? What gave it Lance Armstrong the fuel to ride his bike while he had cancer? What was he trying to overcome or solve for? Talk to him or read his book. The trauma of his youth. Yeah. Tiger Woods, trauma in youth. They didn't want black kids playing golf. They made fun of them. That's the fuel. Now, one of the things I often have to say, your parents did too good of a job. You're too well adjusted, right? Yeah. But that's not the case for most of us. Most of us are trying to solve for things that happened during those formative years. Here's where it gets dangerous. I had a Wall Street guy who I was working with. He was, at the time, he was late 40s, had made $500, $600, $700 million. But he was miserable. He was married with 2 kids. He was up at 4 a.m. every day, worked relentlessly. His family was falling apart. Relationships weren't great, massive insecurity. And I'll never forget this. Through our work together, it was in our second year, he told me the story about a girlfriend he had in high school. He grew up, my client grew up really poor with a brother who was like a drug addict in a very sort of low income, low SES family, dysfunctional parents, drug addict brother, and then there was him. In high school, he had a girlfriend. She was the it girl of the town. Her mother, if I remember correctly, the mother drove a white Jaguar. She was on the tennis team, country club. So imagine a scenario where, lower SES class gets to date the it girl. That validates you as a person, right? Because nothing else in your life is validating you. And the time comes, it's almost like the archetypal movie, The Notebook, and she breaks up with him. Oh. And of course, he's like, but why? Yeah. And the answer is the story we've seen in millions. It's like, at the end of the day, like, mom and dad are never going to let this happen. You don't fit. Like, we don't belong together. Yeah. It broke his heart.
We come from different worlds.
You can imagine the kind of pain, because that validates what he always thought about himself. Like, I'm a loser. I'm never going to get out of this mess. So what do you do at that point? Essentially, what he told himself is, no one's ever going to hurt me again because I'm too poor.
Yeah.
And he went to Wall Street and he worked 20 hours a day and he was relentless. And even people who worked with him was like, that guy's animal, relentless. And I start working with him because he knew something was broken. And it was his identity, by the way. So what happened was, going back to Freud's observation, we spend our adult lives undoing the debris of our childhood. He had never solved for that, even after the hundreds of millions of dollars. And we finally traced back that story. It was catharsis. And I remember having to say to him, I said, hey, you don't get a do-over. She's never coming back. And oh, by the way, look at your life.
Yeah.
And from that day forward, I have a text on my phone he had sent to me a couple of years later. He's like, his family was intact. His wife loved him again because he stopped trying to solve for the pain of an 18-year-old self. But most people never do the work to do that. Most people never do the work to go into their psychological cellars and try to understand the formative experiences that put them on their path. And what happens is, if you don't do that, you spend the rest of your life compensating for childhood insecurity. You make yourself miserable. You make everyone else miserable, and you never become the fullest version of yourself. So what I would ask everyone to do at a certain point in their life is, to what degree do you spend your life undoing the debris of childhood? As you look at kids, and this is, by the way, there's a whole nother level of dysfunction, and that's the billionaire class in those kids, which I've also met a lot of them, sort of the trust fund kids, the heirs and heiresses who've never had to earn money. You want to talk about an absolute disaster set up for life. It's because they never learned self-reliance. It imposes an identity on it, so they never actually become themselves. They have this, what's called identity foreclosure. It's like, this is who you are. You're a Thurston. And all of a sudden, they have crises later in life when they finally wake up, like, I never chose this life. Yeah. So the poverty path or the wealth path lead to the same kind of dysfunction because there's no self-discovery in the identity. The best identity path is you do your own work, you try on different faces, and then you make a choice to who you want to become. But the convergence of those two observations, number one, we spend our adult lives undoing the debris of childhood, and that debris can come in the form of extreme wealth. Yeah. It could come in the form of extreme poverty. It could come in the form of trauma. It could come in the form of living in a country club and becoming fragile, and everywhere in between. And then the secondary thing is, when you finally come to that awakening in that moment, you say, well, who am I? And who do I want to be? That opens everything up. And that defines most of humanity almost in every domain.
That's a beautiful way to end this. We always end with the same question, though, which is, what is success for you?
Success for me is, I think, a little bit different because I was successful pretty young in life. I had a real period of time. I graduated from Emory University, first in my class, or top of my class. I was a young professor at Rollins College, I think the youngest professor at the time. I was one of the youngest to ever get tenure. I had a best-selling book. I was being celebrated by the sports world, Sports Illustrated. I had 2 jet skis. I had a house and an apartment. Materially, in the